Today's presenter is Frishta Sharifi. Frishta holds a Master of Science degree in counseling with emphasis on marriage and family therapy and professional clinical counseling. Currently, she is a counselor at the Family Caregiver Support Program in the city of Fremont. In addition to counseling, Frishta enjoys research and has been part of the Mills College Cognition Laboratory for the past 7 years. Her research works have been published in the Journal of Integrated Social Sciences, the Journal of Psychology, and the Journal of Psychology and Behavioral Sciences.
Hi everyone. I am very happy to be here today as a representative of the city of Fremont, and also hopefully I can provide some information regarding coping as a caregiver and also offering resources that are offered through Alameda County and specifically city of Fremont for caregivers. So as I said, we're going to start about coping as a caregiver. And I usually see caregiver as a universal occupation because it happens in all different cultures across the world and in different countries. It's very universal. It happens everywhere in the world. But let's see and think about who are these caregivers. So let's see how many of you are caregivers in this room, including me. Yay. All right, so who are these caregivers? Let's see who are these. Let's identify them. And they're usually someone's wife, right? Someone's husband, a son, a daughter, a granddaughter or grandchildren, brothers, sisters, maybe partners, maybe nephews, nieces, friends, neighbors. The list goes long. It might be you. It could be me. And it's most of us at some point in our life. I'm going to go through some stats regarding caregivers. So recent statistics shows that there's 75% of caregivers who are female. 51% of them are over age 50. And 37% are sole providers. They're the only one providing care for the loved one. 57% are adult children. And between 6 to 23% are spouses. And in the other category falls where the other family members and friends provide care for a loved one in the family. So that's why wonder we call them a universal occupation because it happens a lot. And Rosalind Carter once said that there are 4 types of people in the world, and I found it very interesting, so I wanted to share it with you as well. That she said there are 4 types of people. So one is the people who have been a caregiver in their life. The second category is people who are currently caregivers. The third category is people who will be a caregiver. And the fourth one is people who will need a caregiving. And some of us, or most of us, fall into all 4 categories. So someone asked me that, can I be more than one? I said, yes, you can be all 4. You could be a caregiver before, and you're presently probably providing care for someone, and then you will be a caregiver in the future if you have an older parent. And you might need caregiving yourself because you will be older one day. So we could be any of these 4, or we could be all of these 4 in our life. So caregiving is more common than what we think. There's 52 million informal or family caregivers that provide care to someone aged 20 plus who is ill or disabled. 34 million adults provide care to persons aged 50 or over. And 8.9 million informal caregivers provide care for someone aged 50 plus with dementia. So why people don't want to identify themselves as caregivers? I found this hard when I see caregivers at my work or any other places. They usually have a hard time identifying as being caregivers. Because they feel that caregiving is naturally expected of them, especially with women. As I provide statistics before, there's 75% of caregivers are women. And no wonder they expect that to be naturally their job. Sometimes acknowledging of being a caregiver shows a big change in you and the loved one you care for. So it's better not to identify as caregiver, right? So you can stay away with that. And also they may think it's a loss of closeness. If I identify myself as being a caregiver, not a daughter, that shows that I'm a little far from my parent, if I identify myself as a caregiver, not being their daughter. So there will show a difference in closeness. It's also, it may think that it denies the dignity of the other person. If I say I'm a caregiver, that puts them in a position of care receiver. And I may feel it denies their dignity, so I would rather not say I'm a caregiver. But it's very important to identify as a caregiver, and there are some reasons why. So it's very important to recognize family caregivers and name them family caregiver. I could be a daughter plus a caregiver. And usually family and friends, they think of themselves in terms of relationship, right? I'm a partner of someone, I'm the wife of someone, I'm daughter of someone, not I'm a caregiver of someone. So why can't we say I'm the daughter or the wife plus a caregiver of someone, a loved one? If family members don't know they're caregivers, then it's hard to look for resources because they don't know where to look to find resources that they need. It will make it very hard because I may be looking resources for giving care to my mother or father, but then I don't know because resources are for caregivers and I'm not a caregiver, I'm their daughter. Then it's hard to find those or locate the resources that I need. And also, identifying as a caregiver shows there's a big change in my role, is addition to my role. I'm a daughter plus a caregiver. There's a change. So, as I said, caregiver puts a new role in our life, and we will be multitasking or having multiple roles. And it's usually when I say family caregivers, they are caregivers who did not pick caregiving as their professional. They are being put into caregiver because no one else was doing so, or they were expected to be caregivers, or they feel that they need to do that because they love the person they are providing care to. But they're not being paid for. So that's why I'm calling informal or family caregivers. So they are into an unexpected career. They see themselves that they fall into that. And all of a sudden they find themselves to be a nurse. They need to manage the medication, make sure the loved one takes medication on time. They maybe need to take the blood pressure, check blood pressure a couple of times a day. They may need to check the blood test because of blood sugar. And all of a sudden you're doing the things that a nurse would do. Then you're a social worker. You need to find resources, apply them for Social Security benefits or their health insurance or whatever resources they need. You need to fill up the application, take them there, make that appointment, and do something that a social worker would do. Then you're a launderer. They can't wash their clothes anymore. You need to wash your clothes plus the clothes of the loved one. You're a personal care attendant. You need to make sure they don't fall at home. They take shower on time or help them take a shower, take them to places. You're an activity planner. You plan their whole day, where they need to go, how they can get there, what to do first, what to do next. So basically you plan their whole day. You're a financial manager. Maybe a loved one gets to a point where they can't manage their finances, and it's all up to you to pay the bills, manage the finances, and get a hold of their bank account and see what needs to be done. You're a security specialist. You make sure they're safe at home or anywhere they go. Make sure they use that walker or wheelchair they need. And they're safe wherever they go. You make sure they're safe. You're a coordinator. You coordinate services. You make sure the caregiver comes on time if there's a caregiver involved. A physical therapist comes on time, an occupational therapist come on time, and how to come and when to come and where to go and all these things. You find yourself to be a cook because the loved one cannot cook anymore. You're the driver, taking them around, and many more that did not fit into this slide. So you're taking into multiple of these roles, and no wonder a caregiver feels stressed out and overwhelmed because they have to be fill into all these positions into the loved one's life. And that's why it's stressful, and that's why we're here to talk about coping and finding resources to reduce the load that they are feeling on the daily activities. So what it takes to cope as a caregiver, what needs to be done. Usually it's multiple factors that help us cope as a caregivers. We need to use external coping resources and internal coping resources in order to be able to cope with the stresses that are come with caregiving responsibilities. So let's look into these two resources and what are they and how can we manage them. Let's look at the internal coping resources. Usually they are very helpful because internal coping resources, they help promote self-reflection or distraction. So they may help you reflect on yourself or distract you from what the stresses are happening. You can distract yourself. For example, journaling can help a great deal. You write down what's happening for you throughout the day or write down about something you loved about giving care to a loved one. A lot of time it surprises the caregiver when they start journaling because they didn't know how much they were doing until they saw it on a piece of paper in front of them. They saw they were doing so many things from 8 a.m., for example, to 10 at night. They were like, wow, I did all this. I couldn't believe it themselves. And then meditation helps a great deal as well. Reading, something you enjoy. Exercising, of course, will help anyone with stress, but specifically caregivers in this case. Listening to their favorite music or calming music, or sometimes even listening to sounds of nature without wording anything. It will calm you down and reduce their stress. Prayer, if you're specifically following any specific faith in your life, prayer has proven with this research that is going to help greatly with the stresses that comes into life. Watching your favorite TV program will do a great deal, and basically cleaning your home, just organizing things around will help you reduce a little bit of the stress that you're facing. These are some of internal coping resources. I'm sure there are more, and you know probably more than this if you've been caregiving for a while. And of course, there are external coping resources. So these ones are the ones that provide help from outside to give you emotional support. These are supports you can get from outside, not the things you can do on your own, which was internal coping resources, but externals are the ones that are offered to you from outside supporters. So family can offer a great deal of help with caregivings, but usually there are family conflicts, or sometimes you feel that you're the only one and family is not helping. So what helps in this scenario usually to be specific with friends and family both, that what you need help with and when do you need help with. Because sometimes if you say, I need help on Tuesdays, they say, well, I'm working, I can't do that. But if you are being specific and say, Tuesdays, I need help from 6:30 to 7:30 because I do need to take a little break and go for a walk, then most likely they will say yes, because you're being very specific on what you need. Physicians, as a psychiatrist or a regular physician checkups are very important in maintaining your whole health so you can provide care for the loved one. Seeing a psychologist and therapist regularly or attending support groups for caregivers are being shown to greatly influence the caregiver's health and improve their health on a daily basis. And attending to community services or knowing the services that are offered through community, because if it's good to know those resources. A lot of services may be offered through the community you're living, but you may not be aware of it, or you have not found them yet. So it's good to locate those services and use them to give you a little break from caregiving job. So how can we achieve maximum wellness while we are giving care to a loved one? It's usually balancing between internal coping resources and external coping resources. I can't just rely on my internal coping resources and do a good caregiving job. I do need to use both resources that I have and balance between them to achieve maximum wellness so I can provide the best care I want for a loved one. I found this quote to be very interesting, so I thought I could put it here for you as well. It says, caregivers aren't unpaid because they are worthless, but because they are priceless. And that is really true. And I would like you to appreciate yourself for what you're offering for a loved one. And I'm sure your loved one appreciates that as well. So with modern day and the changing that happens in a daily life, in a modern life, caregiving has changed a little bit as well. So a lot of time we do need to offer long distance caregiving. And that is because you work in one state and your loved one or parents are living in another state. You can move because your job is in that one state. But you do need to offer some support or offer caregiving services while loved one is far away. So it estimates that between 5 to 7 million long-distance caregivers in the United States are presently at this time. And they expect this to double in the next 15 years. So we are expecting to see more long-distance caregivers in the future. There are some strategies that will help a long-distance caregiver to offer the best care while taking care of themselves. The first one in that list of strategies is planning before a crisis happens. So it's really good to know if something really bad is going to happen in New York and I'm in California, what I'm going to do. How soon can I get a ticket to get there? And before that, what needs to be done before I get to New York? It's also important to get a copy of any documents that I think will be needed if a crisis happens or if my loved one will need in case they cannot get those records if they end up being in an emergency room. So I will need all the financial, health records, financial records, and legal information that are needed. I will keep a copy with myself here in California if I'm offering caregiving to my parents in New York. I will set a doctor's appointment to make sure I know the diagnosis. Then I will educate myself what the diagnoses are, what will be the prognosis, and what kind of changes I would expect in the next few years or next few months or if sometimes next few weeks. I will involve the rest of my family. They might be living in different states, but I would like everyone to be on the same page so we know what we are talking about, who has which information, and who can offer what in case of crisis. I need to know what community resources are available where my parents live in New York. So I can connect them with the resources and I will get a little relief or get a little break while I know they are getting the services that are offered in the community. I would also get professional help for myself and for loved one I care for. For myself, seeing a therapist or psychologist, or going to a support group, or finding what I need to do here, can I do from here far away, so I know that ahead of time. And plus getting professional help for my loved one in New York, how can they attend to the services they need, and how can they receive what they need to professionally, how can they get help. Maybe they need occupational therapist to visit them at home, maybe they need a physical therapist, or whatever that is. I do need to connect them with the services. So it's important to maintain a balance between my health and providing care for a loved one. It's important to balance between work, professional life, and family life, and caregiving life. So it's important to balance these three, and then I can be able to provide a long-distance care giving to a family member. So what is respite care, and how can we provide that? How can we use that for a caregiving job? So usually respite care is defined as provides the family caregivers with the break they need, and also ensures that their elderly loved one is still receiving the attention that he or she needs. So this is a little break, and I put the slide over there that says desperate for respite. But I would like everyone to get the respite before they get desperate for it, because it's very important. And it's very important in caregivers to take a little break from caregiving job. This is a 24-hour job sometimes, besides what you may have already working a full-time job. So you do need a little break to re-energize yourself to get back to caregiving job. And where do we go when we need respite care? What are resources? How can I find them? And where do I go? So first of all, I need to decide if I need respite care for home or I need respite care in an outside home. If I decide to go with the respite care in home, then I would need to ask a family or friends if they can provide respite. If they can stay in one day with someone I'm giving care to, so I can go do something I need to do. Sometimes it's also provided in home that I can hire a professional caregiver who can stay with a loved one, and then I can go do what I need to do or take a little break. And IHSS, which is called In-Home Supportive Services, is a services offered through the county, and they also offer caregivers. So maybe I can hire someone from IHSS to provide that care while I take a little break. Friendly Visitor Program is a program where friends come and visit you, and they can stay. This is not officially a respite care, but if they come and visit the loved one for a short period of time, you can take that time to go and run and buy something from the closest shopping center. There's also out-of-home respite care, and this one is offered by adult daycare centers, which I will go on show you in the next slide. It's also offered through residential programs and also offered through assisted living programs. Sometimes they do offer short-term care while you're going on a vacation or you have to go take care of an urgent matter and you cannot be with with a care receiver. So respite care services are offered through Alzheimer's Association of the East Bay. In Alameda County, they have a location in Hayward. They also are going to open soon a new location in Fremont, which is they call Memory Center. I'm not sure when they're going to open, but it's about to be open soon. They do offer respite care. So it's good to know those resources or look for them online to see what they offer. And home supportive services, as I said, it's offered through the Alameda County. But there's also financial requirements. You need to be financially eligible to receive this service. And also, I believe the loved one needs to be having medical in order to qualify for the service. But if you do qualify, you will get a caregiver, which will be paid through the county to offer help while you're getting some respite. And also, once the county social worker will come and assess the loved one, and then they see how many hours they qualified for, and if they met all the requirements, and then it will start from there. Family Caregiver Alliance offers respite. Again, there's some requirements. You need to meet the requirement before they know you, to find out if you're eligible or not. So it starts with a phone call to Alameda, to Family Caregiver Alliance, and it goes from there. Residential care home and assisted living facilities offer respite care. Again, you need to pay for them, and it depends on the finances and where you're at and how much you can pay or the loved one can pay. And how long do you need the respite for? Is it for a week, for a month, a couple of months? They do offer short-term care, so they are another option for respite. Unlock, which is a PACE provider, and it's a nonprofit organization, offers respite, but their services are restrictive. They do have a location in Fremont. By restricted, I mean that you need to attend to all their care sign up with a network of care providers that they offer. For example, if you do have a doctor of your own, then you do need to give up your doctor and sign up with the network. So in order to receive the services, you need to be in their network of services. And it's a little restrictive, that's what I mean, because you need to attend to their groups. And finally, Friendly Visitors, as I said, it's a good program. It's not respite, but if you schedule a friendly visitor to come, a loved one, between 1 and 2 p.m. on Wednesdays, then you know you can use that time to go run quickly and shop something and get back before the friendly visitor leaves the home. So it's not officially respite care, but will offer you a little time to go something very quickly and get back. So why do we care about caregivers, right? I know it's all of us, but why do we care about it? Usually they are hidden patients because the whole attention goes to care receiver and what they need. And we are so into providing care that we forget about ourselves. And often, as it was said probably from previous presenters, that they often experience stress, fatigue, and burnout. 49% of female and 31% of males experience depression as a result of caregiving. So it's very important to know that the reason we care about caregivers are because they're burned out. Most of the time they're depressed and they're fatigued. And this interferes with the services they provide for care receiver because they do not receive quality of care they deserve because we are depressed or burned out. So self-care comes first when it's with the caregiving. So always we put that oxygen mask on ourselves first. I do have a little scenario that I'm going to read for you. It comes up from one of the caregivers, where she planned to do something for herself, and it was time for herself, and she didn't want to be bothered by anything. And she was using that time only for herself, to take care of herself. So she said, the one place where I don't give in is when I want to sit up and read at night. He never wanted me to do that when he was well. Now he says he can't sleep if I'm sitting in the living room and I have the light on and the noise of turning pages bothers him. Well, he never has any trouble sleeping in the daytime. The dishwasher can be going, the TV can be on, and the sweeper running, and he can sleep without any problem. So I told him last night not to worry if he couldn't sleep while I was reading because I wouldn't have any trouble when it was daytime and I'm working. I need some time for myself. If he can't sleep, he would just have to stay awake. So that was her time. She dedicated that time for herself, and she was not there to deal with him, right? That if you cannot sleep, then I'm not going to read. So she was dedicated to use that time for herself, even turning the page and the noises is what bothering him not to sleep, but she knew that he could sleep during the daytime, right? So then she could do that at nighttime. But this was an example I wanted to share that why self-care is really important. How can we not negotiate when it comes to self-care? So one of the gerontologists said about the importance of self-care that even the most dedicated workers need an occasional vacation. And this is especially true of caregivers. A burnout caregiver cannot provide quality care. And of course, we are all here to provide quality of care for care receivers, and that's why we're here to care about ourselves first. So how can we have a self-care action plan? There are some questions we can ask before setting up to help us set up an action plan. First is, what are the 2 strategies that I can plan to practice regularly to promote self-care? For example, I would like to read a book and I would like to go walking outside, right? So I picked up these 2 to do as a self-plan, as a self-care. And then, what are the barriers that will come along the way when I try to walk and when I try to read, right? So I may not be able to leave a loved one at home alone when I go walking because that will not be safe. This person cannot be left alone at home. So that's one of the barriers I will be facing. And then what assistance do I need in order to overcome these barriers? So what I need to do, I do need to go for a walk, but I know I cannot leave the loved one alone at home by themselves. So this is when I need family, friends, neighbors, someone to watch a loved one when I go for a walk or read my book or whatever my action plan is. And then when and how often will I begin practicing these strategies? What is the first step, right? So I need to make sure I know I'm going to go, for example, Tuesdays and Thursdays for a walk for 30 minutes. So I need someone to watch the loved one on Tuesdays and Thursdays for 30 minutes. And I need to know the time so I can find someone to come in at that time. So I need to be very clear of what I want and how can I get help for it in order to have a nice action plan that I could follow. And then, how can help hold me accountable? Who can? Who is that person who can help me be accountable for what I'm planning, right? Usually, self-care buddy is recommended. You can have a friend to call you and check, you know what, it's Tuesday, did you go for a walk yet? And you said, no, I didn't. Okay, then it's time to go. Or you need someone to remind you, and you need to be accountable to, so you can stick with your action plan. So the last but not least is about caregiver support program that is offered through City of Fremont under Division of Aging and Family Services. This program is offered through Human Services Department, but they have a division which is called Aging and Family, and then Aging Family has different programs, but one of the programs are Caregiver Support Program. This program offers individual, group, family, and group therapies for caregivers, specifically for caregivers. This program is 100% free. It does not need insurance. It does not look into any income or financial requirements. And this is for residents of Tri-City area, which is Fremont, Union City, Newark. Sometimes if someone needs help in Hayward, they make some exceptions. And if there's nowhere for them to go, they can come in if they are resident of Hayward as well. So how can we reach to that? Or if you have any questions about caregiving or anyone, or any simple questions about seniors, there's a senior helpline offered through City of Fremont that you can call anytime. Again, this is not a hotline, this is a helpline. This line is staffed through normal business hours, 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. And a licensed case manager and professional of information and referral is usually answering this phone line. And if you call and it goes to message, it means she's taking another call. So you can leave a message, and usually the call is returned the same day or within 24 hours. You can simply ask any questions that comes in your mind, and if she cannot answer you right away, she can refer you to other resources that are available in the community. Or if you need specific caregiver questions, you can always reach me, and this is my direct phone line. I do have my business cards in the back table in the back of the room, and you can always ask me any caregiving questions. So I have left some information in the back of the room for everyone. One is the Caregiver Support Group through the City of Fremont. It's usually offered twice a month. Second and fourth Mondays of the month, there's a flyer for that in the back of the room. I do have information regarding senior services for Alameda County. This includes caregiving services as well. It's throughout Alameda County, and sometimes it's national resources as well. So it's a good resource to have. I have directory of adult daycare centers in Alameda County. You can get that also from that table. I also have adult daycare centers of Alzheimer's Association of the East Bay. I know they have one in Hayward, as I said earlier. They were going to open one in Fremont. I don't know when, but it's coming up soon. I also have brochures for support group, for caregiver support program of City of Fremont, and generally for the senior services of City of Fremont. And I also have magnets with a senior helpline and phone number on them that you can use. But one final caregiver tip before I let you go, and I know it's late. You can't take care of anyone else unless you take care of yourself. And thank you so much. I hope this information was helpful.